tonight's show, we're doing a whole new thing. It's a remote setup, so you're actually catching us trying out some new equipment and some new stuff. So check it out. You should see us on a couple different camera angles. We got coming in right here with the phone, so we can walk around. We're going to do a tour of the Meade County Chamber, and so we just want you to kind of join us tonight as we get ready to go live, and just check out the show as you can find us right here on the Meade Truth. Mark, we'll cut you out on the phone.
All right, it's time to end the phone call here. So let's get off of that one. There we go. Now we're out.
Yeah. So we were supposed to go to the Meade County Chamber tonight and do our stuff, but unfortunately, to circumstances beyond our control, they had some things that came up, and we just weren't able to go out there tonight.
And we're gonna have to reschedule. So.
Yeah, but it gave us a chance to set this up and really just kind of.
I mean, I'm really impressed with the video quality from the phone. The whole hookup is really nice. So.
It took me a minute. I think it took some figuring out to do, but we went with these new PTZ cameras. It's the setup allows us to zoom in and zoom out and do all kinds of crazy stuff that really just kind of let us.
We're trying to move up in the world.
Yeah, well, we got this equipment so we get events that were remote. We can really kind of show the audience. Our first show was supposed to be at the town hall this week, and due to equipment standards, we were just trying to get everything to work. And I didn't pull it off successfully.
Yeah, it
is a lot of technology compiled together.
But we know where we are. We know what needed to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that we did anything wrong, but we know.
We're testing. This is why we check mic.
It started to come back there, but what happened?
Well, that's what happens when we do new stuff.
Buzz in it now, but it is back on.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Audio.
Oh, wow, we've got a loud buzz.
No, it's not that bad. I don't hear a buzz. No.
Oh, really?
Okay, so we're back. Sorry about that. I had to juice us up for.
Test 1 2.
Check 1 2. Oh yeah, it's got a. So I have to pull that down.
I think our settings or something that we had earlier were probably affected by.
How about now?
Yeah, there we go. A little bit better.
All right, testing. Yeah,
that's we're better. Back in there now.
Audio adjustments.
Right. So thanks for staying with us as we're going through all this new technology and things. I mean, some of us maybe not new, but it's new to us. So.
Well, before we lose everybody again, and I have a technical difficulty, this is kind of a test run because we want to do more of this remotely.
Yeah, we want to get out to you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Understand what you guys are into and what you guys want to see, and part of our main goal here is to educate people. We want to make sure that we're getting out to the town halls. We're going to get out and do. Eventually do some interviews and things and let people talk. We're going to have, I can't remember if it's next. I think it's next week. It's either next week or the week after. We're going to have Mayor Brian Claycomb on. Talk about City of Brandenburg. And we're going to talk about, we're also going to talk about a little bit about Senate Bill 50, which affects It's Kentucky Senate Bill 50, which is going to basically, it's going to set up a, it's going to say that it's going to change the standard city mayoral races and race and the what's it called, the council races to partisan. Right now, by far the majority, I think there's like 400 cities or something like that in Kentucky. And right now, by far, almost all of them have nonpartisan races. So it's not Republican or Democrat or not even independent. It's nonpartisan. So anybody can sign up to run. They all run together. They all run against each other, and whoever ends up with the most votes at the end of the year or at the end of the election wins. We're going, and I don't want to spoil too much of that, but that's what Senate Bill 50 says. Okay, we're going to make these all partisan races, which means you'll run as a Republican, you'll run as a Democrat, you'll have primaries and things. And I think there's some good and bad to that, and we can talk about that when we get to get in there with Mayor Claycomb here in a week or two.
I just want to say thank you for some of our special guests that we've lined up coming up for some of the shows. And if you do play back, watch us again. These are folks that are making decisions in our county and for our community, and this is a good way for you to connect with them.
And everyone wants to connect with you.
Absolutely.
Whether it's Judge Koch and in his town halls, really a really good town hall, I thought, in District 2 in Doe Valley the other night. We wanted to bring that to you guys live, but unfortunately, the technology being what it is and us being some of the setup being so new to us, we weren't able to get it.
I spent some time this weekend trying to formalize this, so I'm glad we're actually pulling this off. I'm curious to see anybody watching out there tonight. Obviously, I'm in the chat, but if you're hearing us okay, give us a chat, shout out, and let us know how it's doing. 4 minutes in, we lost some audio right off the bat, but everything seems to be, doing pretty good.
I'm really happy with it.
I'm really pleased with the quality of the playback, too, in the video. But
and we'll see how it looks. We'll see how it looks when we get into. We'll see how it looks when we get in and we get home and play it back and see how it sounds. And so, obviously, we're not going to be on here the full hour tonight. We fully intended to be, but like I said, like Steve said earlier, we're some situations being what they are, we're just not able to connect. We're just not able to connect with the chamber tonight. So and we're going to reschedule. They want to reschedule, but we'll get there, and it'll be fine. It'll be a great show.
I'm kind of excited about a couple things I wanted to talk about too before we do kind of find a fade point. But last night Troy stood up the first animal advisory board, animal control advisory board. For the county, the paper was.
So what is that? So what is that going to do? What is the intent of that board?
So, I can tell you this: Troy's right out the gate vision was that by 1 March of 2026, that we have the state-of-the-art animal control facility built, constructed, and operating that is for all surrounding counties the know-all, be-all of what right should look like for animal control. And in the Lewis and Clark Trail region.
Lincoln Trail.
Thank you. I still say it, but Lincoln Trail region. But so taking that, I'm trying to find the image so I can tell you. I mean, we had a lot of talent that was there last night. Troy did a lot of work to pull these people together.
I mean, that's what good leaders do. I mean, they reach out to the community. They find the subject matter experts, the SMEs, if you will, and you let them, empower them to do what they can do. I mean, I know our audience is going to want to know, how are we paying for these things and things, and
so we're not paying for.
Is to pay.
Well, first of all, all of the people that were there last night were volunteers. I will tell you that we had a couple of veterinarians, a veterinarian teacher, some retired DOD civilians. We had a lot of folks from some fantastic organizations. I wanted to pull them off of here real fast and just tell you a little bit about them because. So we had Mike O'Brien, he's a veterinarian, local guy. Jonathan Mangin, veterinarian as well. Cheryl Whalen, Patty Garcia, Carolyn Redmond. As you know, Carolyn was obviously there for Troy's campaign.
Yep.
Cheryl Whalen, passionate about animals. All of the people here on this committee are passionate about animals and are involved in some way, form, or fashion with a lot of rescue in the region and nationally. I mean, nationally, right out of our own county, doing some major rescues.
I know Cheryl with her goats. So.
Yeah, so Cheryl went from 4 to like 14. But we also had, interestingly, Kelly Basham and Kayla Harden. They're with Investigations and Guardians. It's a program where they go and rescue animals from all over. There was Steve Lake was there, that guy, you might know him. Angie Webb was there. She does the rescues and shelters. She was former director of Billett County Animal Rescue and stuff. And then Jennifer Marshall, these two individuals. David Kitson was there from Pets in Need or PINS. And there were several members in the audience that weren't sitting around the board. And
everybody you're listing are board members?
No, they were all there to participate in the meeting that occurred last night. And Troy's intent, of course, Jasper Hardesty, who runs the animal control, has been there about 15 years and running this. And I will tell you, the amazement on his face was overwhelming because he said this is the first time that anybody has gone to this length to even have this conversation. He has been struggling to maintain this program for our county for years. He has one other fellow that helps him. And then, of course, Troy Koch was there. And Troy Koch's, we're going to come back together. Troy's Koch intent was last night was to establish this board, elect a chair, a vice chair, a secretary, and a treasurer. Not that any monies are being raised or anything at this point, but to establish those 4 key roles to establish the board.
And so the board is then going to develop a plan?
That's correct.
And the board is then going to help develop a plan to pay for it through grants and things?
Grants, monies. I will tell you that the first thing, they did elect, there was somebody that nominated me. Not going to call out names, but they nominated me for the chair. It was not Troy, and it was no influence. It was that group. They had met me for the first time. Other than Cheryl and a couple other people, they had known me from previously, but it was a nomination that came from that group, just from the strong connection of meeting everybody and introducing. And
you've been involved in other things anyway, because you all have Rough to Possum. And then you worked with organizing some of the groomers and things around the county.
We all communicate.
Right, right.
And we all connect with these different agencies in some form or fashion.
That's what I meant.
To help place.
That you all are.
That's right.
You're working together with them, which goes hand in hand with this.
Yeah, it's a perfect fit for us as a business operator, because even as a business operator,
because animals are your business.
They are, but and this is something I stress is that we are a business about quality, not quantity. We take the time to not fill up our day with like a puppy mill of dogs coming through as a grooming shop, but we work at capacity.
You pamper the dogs.
We pamper the dogs because there's a lot of stress that goes into even a grooming environment. And some of these folks will even tell you that there's misuse and handling in that industry as well. And I believe in some regulation. So what we've done out of that meeting is we elected the chairman. That's me. Cheryl Whalen was nominated as the vice chair. We did not come to terms with who would officially be the secretary. We're going to field that out as we grow. But Sherilyn has assumed that responsibility as well. And then the treasurer is Carolyn Redmond, has agreed to be the treasurer. Her only requirements is that there had to be 2 signatures on any check that's written if we ever deal with money. And I said, I absolutely 100% support that, and so too did all the people sitting at the table. So I would assume at this point we will establish some bylaws as a board. But our first topics of business, I actually sent out some homework assignments. And I asked everybody to get into the KRS and understand what regulations and laws are in place in Kentucky that deal with animal control and animal care. And then I also asked for everybody to dig up and look up the ordinances that are established in Meade County.
Yeah.
And if and any those ordinances are going to be the first things that we talk about when we come back together. More importantly, it's not really about those ordinances. You know, do we need some of those ordinances? Do we need new ordinances? And I'm not going to go after and solicit anything that's going to cost
Right,
a lot of taxpayer money. But if there's already ordinances in place that are revenue generating for the shop, then
you're thinking like dog tags and
exactly registrations. Exactly. And you know, Troy's number one thing out of, if we can get started on, you can't put lipstick on a pig. You know what I mean? And make the pig look pretty.
I mean, that could be a rough to possum side business.
It could be a rough to possum side business. But we're
but when you figure that out.
But I want to be clear, I'm not in this for any growth in business.
No.
But I am in support of.
I was teasing.
I know you are.
I was teasing. You know, talking about putting lipstick on the pig.
But the goal is to actually.
And that's actually your wife's business, right?
It is. Well, we're both in in business together. But she is the face of the business as far as that goes, and her involvement with our customers.
Yeah, we don't talk about our business or Kathy's business, my wife's business, much either. So it's I don't feel it's right for us to to put it out there. So I understand where you're coming from, and I shouldn't have harped on it.
No, you're good. You're good. I don't take it any wrong way, but from the standpoint of really caring about what we're doing and all of these individuals involved, I mean, truly amazing, passionate people.
Awesome.
I'm privileged to get to work with all of them, and they are so motivated to make this different. And again, to Troy's point, is how do we start educating about our animal control shelter? How do we educate its need for in the community, and how do we take what we have right now, make it better, not only for the workers that are there, but for the environment, for the dogs, and the opportunity to adopt out
some standards and things
exactly.
in so people can understand and
what's being neglected.
Yeah, I mean, some people will, and if I can play the other side of that for a moment, some people will feel like, hey, here we go, we're going to regulate another business, we're going to, and that ultimately, if we're not careful, the regulations that the laws that we put in place today, maybe they're abused in the future.
Well, there's actually legislation right now that I found about last night that's in committee at the state that deal with the laws on how you punish somebody for crimes against or cruelty against animals. And it's important to know that while I may be in a dog grooming business, animal control appeals to more than just dogs and cats.
Right.
It also deals with the illegal use or illegal harboring of, and you've got the relationship between animal control and DNR. So it's not okay to raise deer. Yeah. Right, or it's not okay to have certain types of animals. Or
I mean, there are.
Could you imagine?
Aren't there hunting locations that? Well, maybe they don't raise deer.
That's different, but that has to be approved by the DNR.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And oftentimes, those are discovered by your animal control, who then have to work in coordination with.
Do you all get into like the? Like wildlife otherwise? I mean, is that part of that purview?
Again, this is where we've got to really, if we're all ready to come together at the table, which is what Troy did last night, he pulled us all into the table and said, this is what I'd like to see. We're probably going to uncover a lot of other responsibilities that most people weren't aware of, and we want to make sure that that's all encompassing if we're going to truly get to the point where we go to a new facility. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's a big load to haul, because he said by 1 March of 2026, he wants a state-of-the-art facility. Now, where that's going to go, how we fund that, comes to our next homework assignment that I gave everybody, which was get online, start looking for grants that deal with, and this is the interesting part about grants, right? Typically, for a county to be funded under a grant, you need some type of committee that's separate from the government in order to get funded.
So this is not a Meade County committee.
It is a Meade County committee.
Well, then isn't it part of the government? It's under the purview of the government, but it's
under
not
the purview of the
it's
government.
It's not a fiscal court subcommittee, or is that what you're saying?
No, that's right.
Okay.
We would have to go to fiscal court if we wanted to address anything because they own.
I'm just trying to think what other committees are out there right now.
Fiscal court owns obviously the animal control. So we are an advisory committee to fiscal court.
Okay.
So how we get to the end state on behalf of the court's intent through either grants and stuff like that. So we also have some follow-on conversations we're going to have to probably have with the county attorney about what colors of money, because right now currently we know that in Meade County, if you make a donation to the shelter, that goes into the general fund. You can't split the fund right now. Those are
so you might look to see is there a
money?
501c3 or something that you can that can be started in conjunction,
so that we funnel that money.
So there's
in that
money
way.
coming in two. You get two pots of money instead of just the one.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good.
And then,
because there's going to be grants on both sides.
Exactly.
Of that.
And or how do we color those monies so that it is going directly to and not pawned off or shuffled out? Well, do you really need that extra kennel? Can we use that over here? And we want to make sure that is a clear line drawn between the efforts of this committee and the funds that we raise in support of this effort, that it's clearly drawn so that we aren't going to the county and trying to do anything that would, and I'm certain that the magistrates would be all against any type of taxes that need to be. I would be against that. I want to go after what's already in place.
I mean, right now they're worried about how are we going to pay for road infrastructure, how are we going to pay for water infrastructure, how are we going to support the businesses that are moving into this region, the industry, and so I get it. They don't, and then the one thing I would ask is how do we make sure that we kind of future-proof this a little bit as new laws and things come in. That's one thing that concerns me, because we just went through this, or the county attorney right now. We had that call a couple weeks or last week. Was it last week? It was last week. Yeah, last week.
About the ordinances
about the road. Well, about the road, private roads coming in, and then those not getting paid. Those dues not getting paid. Now, a lot of people are like, "Hey, we want
tap on the table while we're talking." Shakes the camera.
Oh.
Anyway, keep going. I'm sorry, but county roads.
Yeah. So the county roads are.
Well, we're converting private roads.
The private roads, and those aren't getting paid. But we didn't. The process didn't get completed, right? So no liens were put on the properties or anything like that for those bills. And so some slipped through the cracks. Quite a few slipped through the cracks. And I think Sydney had said there was something like $30,000, $40,000 or something like that out there that needed to be collected. Right. Which when you think about a road, may not seem like a lot of money, but you got to think about the fact that your neighbors all paid, and that's and then not just your neighbors. If there was a shortfall. Or if there was a shortfall to upgrade that road, but it went ahead and got done anyway, that means all your other neighbors paid those parts. Now
we had Sydney Durham on the show, so if you go back to last week's podcast,
you'll get more insight in that.
This was covered in great detail, and we asked a lot of fact-finding, open-ended questions to get after, devil's advocate, and she was ready with the answer. So if you want to go back and watch that podcast, you can get a lot of answers about that. But the
point being that the point I'm trying to make is how do we make sure anything you're doing with this new committee is future-proofing that, making sure that the people who are supposed to pay are paying, and it doesn't become a burden on the rest of the taxpayers.
Well, absolutely. And I would say this is like gun ownership. Most responsible gun owners are going to do the right thing. Most responsible pet owners are going to do the right thing. We live in a farming community. You probably got a lot of farmers that, don't necessarily... There's a lot
of hunting dogs out there.
There's a lot of... even a hunting dog, somebody has a hunting dog, probably has them well kept, because hunting dogs are...
They're not cheap.
They're not cheap. But again, I would say that you still got feral dogs and all that other stuff. And if animal control... And let's just go at it from a safety perspective. If you didn't have animal control, and I thought about this long and hard because I try to play the devil's advocate. Animal control is in place so that we can control the pet population. there are responsible pet owners. In fact, before we got into this business, I did my market research for this area, and out of the 12,000 plus homes that exist in Meade County, you have to assume that a certain percentage of these homes have animals based off of veterinarian results across the national standards. And we figured that there's more than 4,000 households in Meade County that probably have an animal that is going to or visiting a vet. And that doesn't mean that they have one animal. They could have more than one animal.
4,000 animals.
4,000 households.
4,000 households.
Assuming that they all had
and
one
it could
animal.
be 12,000 or 15,000 animals overall, right?
It could, because you could have 3 cats and a dog, or
and which is quite
that's a lot.
Happens a lot now.
Or 3 dogs or 2 dogs, and but just even if we stuck with 4,000 animals and exponentially they bred. Again, I don't know all the KRSs. I got to do my homework like I've asked the team to do. But we definitely don't want puppy mills, unregulated puppy mills, right?
Right. Oh no, I mean that's absolutely right.
We don't want an overpopulation, and this is the thing to think about. If you had dogs and cats running all over the place, and you're running over them on 1638, or you're running over them on 313, somebody has to go clean those up.
Well,
and then
because you think about animal control, you think about dog catcher, right? You think about some, like you said, somebody has to go clean up the
remains,
the remains of the roadkill type situations. And it's not like the police are going to, or have the time to go out there and do that. That's a different line, right? But I think that one of the things that I think this is a really great idea. I think this committee is a really good idea. It's going to open doors for new monies to help with this issue.
The county,
to the county, and it's going to make the county a better place to live overall when it's all said and done.
Well,
there's a lot of work.
It's going to be a lot of work, but I think it's also going to be another resource for our citizens. Another little known fact I found out last night, that if you all of a sudden can't take care of an animal, our county takes in those animals. We have a very difficult time placing them, so many of them, just basically you give up on your animal and you drop them off. Other counties charge a fee to do that, to assume the responsibility of the animal so that they can care for them for a certain amount of time until they can place them.
Well,
so
that's both to pay, and it's also a deterrent that if you think, I'm not against any animal ownership. We personally don't have any dogs or cats or anything like that. But that doesn't mean I don't like dogs and cats, right? It just means that in our situation in life, we said, we're taking care of our boys. We're going to do these things. And we've been talking about maybe getting a dog at some point, but it's probably going to be down the road a little bit. We're way too busy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? We know that we're probably going to be too busy to properly take care of that dog. So people need to think about that before they need to make sure they understand it's not just about the joy you get from getting it. You have to take care of it, and it's not a person. So I don't want to get into that discussion, because I think you should treat humans higher and better than dogs. But there's no reason not to treat a dog with respect and love. So
I want to give one shout out. I forgot. I want to say, I thought his name was Keith, but he is the deputy to JR at the jail. He's the guy that would take over if JR wasn't
JJ?
if JJ wasn't there, right? He was there last night. I didn't realize that he also plays in a big part with Kelly Basham, who's the director and division for this whole division for this region, but he also helps a program locally that places animals that soldiers were connected to when they were in deployment.
Wow.
And he'll drive all the way up to New York City to help receive this animal from overseas, whether it's Afghanistan, wherever they were stationed. That reunites them with an animal that they may have cared for while they were in deployment. Kind of as a battle buddy or whatever. Somebody, it's easy. People. It's really weird what impact animals, especially if you're an animal lover. You find an animal and you want to help it.
Yeah, my son drove all the way to Oklahoma to pick up a dog that was, it's the sister of his brother-in-law's dog, and it was actually wasn't mistreated. It was actually mistrained. It was originally intended to be trained as a drug dog or a police dog, but it went through the trainer. The training center actually accidentally put the puppy through, what's it called, service dog training, which takes all the aggressiveness out of the dog, and you don't want that as a police dog or a drug dog. They need to have a certain level of aggressiveness. And so now it was like, well, what are you going to do with this dog? It's like, so they tried to place it. They were really good about trying to place it, but if they didn't, that dog could have been destroyed or whatever. And, but my son said, yeah, he wanted it, and so they drove all the way to Oklahoma, pick up the dog, and drive all the way back in one day. Yeah, which is that's a day.
Yeah, well, and to just his story and what he's doing in conjunction with Kelly Basham, it was a touching story because they support our military who had these experiences and then reunite them with these animals. It may have got them through probably some very difficult times, even when they were overseas or deployed abroad. Yeah. Just an interesting story that's happening in Meade County. But at the end of the day, I think it's important that with this committee too, we look at how the safe and humane way to maintain animal control in Meade County, because there's a lot that would love to make sure that every animal gets donated, but in the fact and reality of things is a lot of animals get euthanized. And if we can, cut into that by not letting our county get overpopulated, find good homes and loving and caring families that are ready to go into dog ownership or cat ownership.
But to do all that, it takes people. It takes people who care. It takes people to actually fill a role.
That's right.
And then it also takes facilities.
Right, and
vehicles.
Seems like
it takes money.
We've got a lot of work. And again, those are the first two things we're going to tackle. What do we need now?
Yeah.
What monies are available to get to the future, and then what do we need to? We already have the date, so let's backwards plan. What do we need to get accomplished, and how soon do we need to get it accomplished by? I'm shaking the table again. In order to make that happen. But, I'll turn it back over. We're going to keep the show short. We got the setup.
Maybe we are. I mean, we're running on it now. So
it's all good. But
yeah, I got a couple of things I want to
go ahead,
say.
Mark.
So anyway, I think that's great. I'm going to say that. I want to make sure. I think that's great. I'm glad you're involved. You're a busy person anyway, but I really appreciate that. I want to say this. I want you to know I really appreciate all the time you spend with the podcast and helping make sure you make sure this all happens, because I know your schedule, and you got three little ones at the house now. You got and now you're doing this with the committee, so it's very admirable. And
thanks.
But I want you to know how much I appreciate you.
And the paper came out. They're going to do an article on it, so I'm curious to see how that comes out in the Messenger too. But excited to see that too. So
there was a lot. There was a lot. No. There was a lot in the paper this last week. As a matter of fact, speaking of the paper, a lot of good stuff. I like how they're kind of reaching into the. It's not really yesteryear so much, but it's like they put some articles about local, feeding local, eating local. Who's the beef producers and things like that. I really enjoyed those articles. I thought that was a really good job. So shout out to the Messenger on those for this week, this past week. But a couple things. One, it's going to be the Meade County Bicentennial. I want to make sure that we're talking about that.
200th birthday.
200th birthday. And they're going to have a big festival in April or May. I don't have the exact date. I was hoping to talk about that with the chamber because the chamber's putting it on. They're hosting it down at the river, and 200 years, man. That's a long time. The county has seen tons and tons of things.
Been a long time.
But in a lot of ways, the county has really grown up in just the last 30, 40 years. Yeah. It's seen a lot, and the people here, I love the people here. I've loved this environment since I was a little boy, growing up here. it's funny as an outsider coming in, because I was about 7, 8 years old when we moved here, and it felt friendly, but you felt a little bit, kind of at arm's length, and it didn't take too long though before you realized that people wanted to help each other, and people in this community really loves each other, and there's 30,000 people in the county, so obviously there's going to be some that maybe don't, but but by far, you don't have to look very far to find somebody. The church is here.
Right.
They work together, things like that. So I really love this community. I'm really happy to see how it's growing. And I think that, we're going to have a lot ahead of us with Nucor and the things coming in. We keep talking about Nucor, but it's not just Nucor. It's, there's a half dozen other companies that are coming here. Then you have the Blue Oval down.
I think Nucor has done a great job integrating themselves into our community. They are very much present, and they are already alive. I mean, they're running. They got plates are coming off the assembly line.
And you're seeing that you're starting to see the construction workers and stuff like move back out. So it's kind of coming back to a more normal flow, but that flow is at a new level. Right.
But I think Nucor is normal, not anything
normal.
New anymore. You know what I mean?
It's been around for two plus years. It is the new normal.
I'm excited to see the new normal when we get more news about the granary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's going to be a big thing for farmers. And Troy's already tackling the infrastructure to support the transportation to and from. So I think that.
I mean,
there's a lot
people,
of things.
People have to remember that it's not just whether you can put a building somewhere down the river. There's a lot to it, like getting there, making sure that it's safe to come in and out of that area.
Sure.
Make sure that we can cross the river. Make sure the bridges and things. Making sure you work with the highway departments and the state highway departments in those cases, because those are all state run. Troy made a point of it the other night at the town hall to mention, hey, that building and such over there is going to be on Indiana soil,
Right.
but it's going to be in Meade County waters, right? So because a lot of people, maybe they realize it, maybe they don't, but Kentucky actually owns the Ohio River. They get a right of way. Indiana gets a right of way on the edge of the river for so many feet. But that was a big controversy when they started putting the riverboat casinos in.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, where are you going to go?
Yeah,
because there's no place for turn around. So there was lawsuits and everything about whether or not they could actually even turn a steamboat around, and they couldn't operate in Kentucky waters, which is basically the Ohio River.
Sure.
Anyway, it was an interesting thing, but then they put a moat down in one so they could they can operate a steamboat on a moat. So because the rules of all that were the steamboat had to the riverboat had to disembark.
Sure.
And before you could start gaming. Right? And then the gaming would stop. Those were all the rules in the beginning. I think all that's gone because now they have just casinos on the land and stuff now. So I think it's pretty much, if they were having to do it over, they would just have the casino up on land. There would be no riverboat. It would be, up in the city somewhere. So, but anyway, so the bicentennial is coming up. I think it's really, really important that everybody get out and celebrate that. I mean, it's important that we share that with each other and celebrate. Because we're not just celebrating Meade County, we're celebrating each other.
Sure.
And I think it's going to be a really good deal. I think we're going to have a lot of fun on that day down the river. You see the chambers also having their annual dinner that's coming up in what's that, March 20-something, but. So that's coming up.
Oh yeah, I got that. That's the same time. Hold on a second. I just booked that. Meade Chamber.
While you're looking that up, our Lincoln Day dinner is going to be on April. It's going to be on April 25th, which is a Tuesday. We were originally going to do it on the 13th, but we moved it out because for some scheduling. So, but April 25th,
March
I
the
believe.
23rd annual chamber banquet, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And of course, our regular March 16th meeting, which is next week, or week after next, is the chamber luncheon. So sponsored by Baptist Hardin Health, and you can register online at their website. If you want to, if you're a Meade County Chamber business and you want to go to that luncheon, yeah, I got it. It's see, junior sponsor is Meade County Farmers Market, and it's going to be at the Meade County Public Library.
Awesome. And I think we should support the chamber. I think the chamber is very good. It's not just good for businesses. It's good for individuals to understand what's going on in the community and things. I think they do a really good job. Andy does a fabulous job. They work hand in hand with the Industrial Authority.
Love the new location.
Yeah, the new location is a great building.
More to follow.
Well, yeah, hopefully we'll get you guys in there and do a nice little tour and let you guys see it. And our the Meade County Republican Party will have the regular meeting. It's coming up March. Let's see, what's the? It's let's see, the third Monday. So what was that? March.
It's the same week as
Same
the
week as
15th.
it's the same day. Was it the 20th?
It's going to be the 20th.
Yeah, March 20th. So it's going to be right here at what we call the train station.
Yeah.
Here at Brandenburg Station. It's in the old train station Master House, 2714.
You come here to come alive. So
Yeah. That's if we
anyway.
kind of push it around, but anyway, hopefully you guys can hear us well tonight. This has been a very good test
Demo.
of our remote, and we look forward to doing this more often.
absolutely.
It's going to be great once we get out into the. Like when we get down to Fancy Farm and things. I think it's really going to set us, create a better environment and a better feel. So, but anyway, everyone, thank you all for listening and coming out and joining us tonight. Share this for us. But when you're on YouTube, if you're watching us on YouTube, like and share this. It helps us. We want to make sure that you're subscribed, like and share, set your notifications so you'll get all of our, you'll know whenever we go live again. If you're watching on Facebook, same thing. Like and share and let people know about us, and then let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want to hear, and we actually, we'd love to put a show together for you. So, all right, thanks everyone. I think next week we're going to have Mayor Brian Claycomb on, and we'll go come out and talk to us.
You guys have a great night.